Welcome to the Dynasty Dugout Show, a podcast covering all things minor league baseball. Get a front row seat to the action with everything you need to know about the future stars of Major League Baseball. And now, here's your host, Chris Clegg.
Good morning, everybody. We're back with the Dynasty Dugout Show. Minor league season has officially kicked off, and it's the best time of the year because everybody's talking about every prospect. Everybody wants to be the first and highest on every prospect. So if you click on Twitter or go on any social media platform, everybody's just hyping prospects to no end. But we're a weekend for most affiliates, all affiliates except AAA. And so we've got a small sample size, and there's some things to react to. And we're going to do that today. I've got with me co-host Rhys White. Rhys, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. For those that don't know, I've been down in the Inland Empire since Tuesday, and I've been covering the entire series between the Inland Empire 66ers and the Ontario Tower Buzzers. So there's the Mariners single A affiliate and the Dodgers single A affiliate.
Yeah, and it's if it would have been last year, that would have been great to have Inland Empire as that team. As they've switched several affiliates, and so the Mariners single A team actually is one of the worst I remember it ever being, honestly, which is kind of crazy.
It's not a strong group. Corbin Dickerson is probably the best prospect on the Inland Empire side, and then Aiden Torek is probably a good 30th, top 30 sort of selection. But outside of that, it's been a really, really not talented group of guys, considering that in the past, that Modesto team, when they were Modesto, was super talented. You had Felon Celestine, you had Ryan Sloan throwing 50 pitches a start, and you had a bunch of guys coming through. I thought that I might see Becker and some of the other college guys that they drafted, but unfortunately no, and it's just Dickerson, which is fine. He's actually been somewhat interesting. There's some things I like about him. There's some things that I don't enjoy about his game, and we can definitely talk about him later if you want.
Yeah, sounds great. We're going to cover some hot minor league starts, whether we're buying or selling them, both on the hitter and the pitcher side today. And we're going to talk about some live looks. As Rhys mentioned, been out in the Cal League, seeing a very talented Ontario team, which is the Dodgers single A affiliate. So we'll talk about some of those guys later in the show. We're going to dive in. There's been some hot hitters that we need to discuss. Are we buying? Are we selling these prospects? And for the most part, I didn't put many AAA guys on there. We know a lot of the AAA guys, even though there are a couple that I think are worth talking about. We'll hit those. But one of the hottest power hitters so far this year is Blake Burke, who actually ended the season quite hot. He is a Brewers first base prospect. Feels like they got a lot of these type guys. But Burke's hit 6 home runs already in 29 plate appearances, hitting the cover off the ball. This is the exact way he ended last year. There's big power numbers. Rhys, are you buying what Blake Burke is selling, and what can we expect from him moving forward?
I'm buying what he's selling. This is a guy who power is the predominant tool here. I mean, he's never going to steal any bases. He's probably one of the slower first base profiles that you'll come across, but he makes enough contact. I'm buying him. I wish that he was in another organization that wasn't having this log jam of first baseman. I mean, it seems like, you know just as well as I do, they really like to draft these former Tennessee Volunteer first basemen with Andrew Fisher, Blake Burke. It's a profile that they seem to like, but with Burke, I'm buying the profile. I just wish that he was in another organization. And maybe, the Brewers, they have this log jam of first baseman coming up. Maybe they do need to release some of them and trade them off to certain teams to help out the major league team. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Blake Burke get moved. I mentioned in today's daily article that we write that I would love to see him in Coors or something like that, because I just think that Burke is a good enough hitter with more than enough power that if he lands in an organization where there is a better chance for him to start every day, this guy could be a really, really good, low-end first baseman, high-end corner infield type. So I'm buying the profile.
Yeah, I was looking up the numbers because I mentioned he finished the season strong. I just had to look back at the numbers. And from August the 9th last year until today, including this season, so that's 37 games, he has 17 home runs, which is just kind of silly numbers to see. And obviously, when you're hitting the ball that hard, you're going to put up a good slash as well. 311, 374, 696 slash. And again, that's a small sample, but I do think what Burke is doing is somewhat legit. It's been kind of fascinating because Tennessee had so many good teams over the last few years, and they've had a lot of guys drafted highly. And the odd thing is that a lot of them haven't really panned out at the major league level, like a lot of people had hoped for. So wonder if Burke can be that guy. But again, like Andrew Fisher, same kind of mold of player. Will be interesting to see, which one emerges. But I agree. I think Burke could be a good fit for another team, but he is in a pretty pitcher-friendly environment in the Southern League and hitting the cover off the ball. So wouldn't be shocking if they pushed him pretty aggressively. Where does he fit on that team? That's the question mark. Could he reach the majors this year? Absolutely. So I am buying some Blake Burke and what he's doing. Probably like it's a top 175, 150 prospect, maybe, if you're into that kind of power profile. But again, it's limited. So I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think that's where I'd probably put him at this point. I think that, it's a power only profile. He'll make just enough contact. He won't be like a drain on your average or your OBP. But, if he can hit like in a half season, like home runs, that's a nice little boost. But yeah, I think that this is a profile that ultimately might need to be moved to a different team, because the Brewers are, going to have a bunch of these sort of guys. They're going to have him, Luke Adams, Eric Batanti, Andrew Fisher, who we talked about, who Andrew Fisher is also performing really well and looks like he could be ready for the major leagues as quickly as about anybody from his draft class. So it's the roadmap for him for playing time is a little bit not fully paved, but it's a good profile to have, and I would definitely sit on him in a league where 200 props.
Agreed. So next up, we got Ronny Cruz of the Washington Nationals. He was drafted by the Cubs back in 2024, third round pick. Debuts at the complex last summer, and he's solid. He wasn't like wow you kind of numbers. And he's traded to the Nationals as part of the Michael Soroka deal at the deadline. And Cruz is fascinating. It's somebody that we kind of heard about this offseason, that the Nationals' new general manager, Paul Tabani, had kind of hyped up as a player that could break out. And so far, Ronny Cruz has been pretty good. He's 2 home runs, 3 stolen bases through 28 plate appearances against 6 games. Small sample, but I like what I'm seeing. It's a good frame. Like, there's some power projection. He's 6'2", listed 170, maybe has already added a little bit of weight to my eye, but I could be wrong there. But I'm kind of watching Cruz and seeing a lot to like. I think the home run he hit the other day was 107 or 108 off the bat. But he's got a couple doubles. He's got triples so far. It's an interesting skill set. I think you got to watch the hit tool, the contact numbers, and approach are the little bit of the concern for me. But are we buying Ronny Cruz with what you've seen from him so far?
I'm buying him to an extent. I mean, like you talked about, he is a little bit swing happy. That's what I've noticed in a couple games that I've watched. He likes to swing. He's not going up there to he wants to swing, and I don't blame him. Like, with the way he's hitting, I mean, he's matched his home run total from last year already in 6 games. So he's got that going for him, and 108 off the bat is nothing to sneeze at. There's even some more room for him to fill out. I'm buying Ronny Cruz. I think this is a nice breakout, and I think we're going to be seeing a bunch of these young Washington Nationals hitters sort of breakout. They've got a really, really exciting direction going with the new front office, and they're all more or less like 20 years old, the front office workers at this point. I know it's been a big complaint among like the older, like grizzled scouty types and stuff that, they're too young and whatever, but whatever they're doing is working. Their pitchers are really taking off. We don't have him on the docket, but Riley Cornelio looks really, really good in the early goings of this season as well. So I'm buying what the Washington Nationals are doing with their guys. That means by extent, I guess I got to be in on Ronny Cruz, even if I do think he's a little swing happy.
Yeah, their development, a lot of the guys came over from the Red Sox, and we've seen a lot of success on the Red Sox development side of things, especially with their arms. So, yeah, I really think that we'll see some Nationals arms pop off. You're kind of seeing that with Cornelio. Can never pronounce his name right, but looking really good so far. And then a couple of hitters, too, have really looked the part. So I'm certainly interested in Ronny Cruz there. The next guy, I think you've seen this guy before, and that's Jhonny Level with the San Francisco Giants. Did you happen to catch him last year?
I did. I caught him during what was not the best stretch of his single A season. I think he didn't make contact with any of the pitchers that I saw. But I could see why the building blocks are there for him to be exciting, and he's really broken out this season. I know it's early going in the season. He has 2 home runs, 3 stolen bases. He's hitting. I mean, he's hitting. The ball looks like a beach ball for him right now. 519, 567, 926 slug. So he's really, really like breaking out in front of our very eyes. 5 doubles. I think one of the big things with him is he is not the biggest guy by any means. He's listed at 5'8". But he can really like leverage his frame. He can add some loft to his swing. He's someone that I'm definitely buying, but also I don't think he's this guy by any means either. So I could definitely see in the right situation, if you can sell him for something slightly better than what he is, I would definitely take that spot, because I think that everything under the hood looks good, but I just am kind of curious. I guess I'm kind of talking myself in circles here. I'm just kind of curious if this is sort of the peak of his quote unquote value, and maybe this is a chance to sell high, get another piece, or get 2 pieces that are of equivalent value, because Level is not going to be he doesn't have the crazy upside of a Josua or a Luis Hernandez by any means, but he's a really good hitter. I think that he's going to slow down as he ages, but he also might add more power as he ages too, because there's not a lot of room for him to fill out. But I think that he can, maximize the angles and everything. But with that, I think he's going to slow down a little bit, and he's probably going to be like a second base, and that's going to put a lot more pressure on the bat.
How big do you think he is? He's listed at 5'8", 186. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
I'd say he's like 5'7", 5'8".
Yeah.
Like it's not like he's not one of these guys who we're going to be shocked that he's really, really small. He's not like a 5'5" sort of guy.
Yeah, it's not like Caleb Durbin hops out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're somewhat like, I don't know. And this is like a egregious, like, I don't know. You watch him, there's a little bit of like Ozzy Albies, the way he plays the game. Maybe I just see that second baseman that's a little bit smaller, but like they're both switch hitters, and you watch how they kind of play. And that's how Level kind of reminds me of. And I'm not saying that like Level's going to have a 33 home run season like Albies has. Albies had a couple 30 home run seasons, but I do think the hit tool is there. I think that he probably gets to more power than the EV suggests. And that's kind of the case with Albies and what we've seen. The hit tool will be interesting to kind of track. Albies is kind of a bit aggressive, and that's kind of been his downfall, is that he swings and he chases a good bit. And we haven't seen that from Level yet, but again, lower levels, we'll see how it kind of shakes. But there's kind of shades of that when I watch him and say like, okay, if you squint, you could see him becoming this type of player if all pans out. So I think he's a top 100 prospect for me. I think that if you somebody asked me this morning, if you got a top 50 prospect in return, would you sell? And I probably would, but I would say it's depending on who you get. Like, I don't know, like, would you trade if I offered you Dax Kilby for Level? Would you take it?
I think I might. It's a close. So if you're getting to the point where it's close, then maybe they should be ranked closer than. I think I would take Kilby because I think there's more upside, same level, more. He's a better athlete. I think there's probably more power projection as well. So I'd take Kilby, but I wouldn't blame anybody for not taking that offer either.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like these younger guys. Like, would I trade him for JoJo Parker? Maybe. Yeah, I think I would do that. So like, that's kind of the range I think where you look at it and say like, okay, like that's what I'm looking for. If you sell high, you got to get something good for him. Like I trade him for Ryan Sloan. I trade him for like a Thomas White or Robbie Snelling type probably. Mm-hmm. So you get in that range, obviously much higher. That would be excellent, but we'll see what you can get. So if you could trade him, I would, but I do think there's some legitimacy to the profile. This guy's interesting, and it's somebody that I didn't really expect to pop off. It's Chicago Cubs prospect Pedro Ramirez, and he's somebody I saw early on in his career. He was in Myrtle Beach for a little while, for a couple seasons, so I got to see him in Single A a bit, and it always was kind of that hit first profile where there wasn't much power, and he pounded the ball on the ground a ton. But Pedro Ramirez suddenly seems like there's some power breakout appeal. The exit velocity certainly backed that, and it looks like it could be a career best year. Last year, in 563 AA plate appearances, Ramirez hit 8 home runs, and he stole 28 bags. So this year in 49 plate appearances, he already has 4 home runs. Slash on looks really good. He's 3 for 3 on stolen bases. a lot of things you like to see. And then you look under the hood, he's already popped at 110. He's running like a 50% hard hit rate. His average EV is like 95 miles an hour, something stupid like that. So there are some legitimate jumps. Ground balls are still an issue, but is this sustainable? We are talking about a small sample, so you have to be careful talking about like exit velocities in this context, but I believe there's a bit of a jump for Ramirez. What say you?
I think that there is a slight bit of a jump because there's always been some sort of untapped like offensive upside with right. If the EVs are taking the jump forward, like he's saying, and like you said, and all of a sudden everything's sort of falling into place, then I think this is a nice little breakout. And there's a lot of things going for him at this point. Right? Like he is a switch hitter. He's not the biggest guy by any means, but he is also on the 40-man roster. So like he could be providing immediate value here anytime soon with the Cubs. If there's an injury that happens, because he does have some positional versatility. I don't know how good he is at second, third base, whatever, but he can play those positions in a pinch. So I don't know if he's like going to be a gold glover by any means, but he provides some value there. I'm buying the offensive breakout though. There's nothing under the hood that the strikeout rate is fine. The walk rate's kind of actually, I know it's such a short sample, but it's in line with exactly what he did last year in Double A. 8.2% walk rate last year, 8.2% walk rate this year, 15% strikeout rate last year, 16% strikeout rate this year. And again, short sample. I feel like we need to put like a little sign or a graphic that like a no vacancy sign, but it's just a short sample. But yeah, I'm buying the offensive breakout. He's 22 years old. He's doing it in AAA. He's young for the level. I'm kind of in on the profile. I don't know if I picked him up in anywhere in my leagues, but I think that I should be exploring that because what if this is real?
Yeah, the hit tool we know is good. He's running a 95% zone contact rate right now, 90% overall, 22% chase rate. I'll take that all day. You throw in some power. It's a really fun profile. So Pedro Ramirez, he looks the part, and he just turned 22 years old. Like he was 21 all spring turned 22 April 1st. So again, smaller guy, but it's not surprising to see some power gains over time. Like we know that age typically brings out more power. And I kind of think that's what we're seeing here with Pedro Ramirez. So this next guy, everybody has talked about, he might be the biggest sell for me right now of any prospect, and that's James Tibbs with the Dodgers. Interesting kind of, he was drafted by the Giants, 13th overall, and he's part of the Rafael Devers trade. So he goes to Boston. I was told that the day they acquired him, the Red Sox front office was already making calls trying to flip him again. They certainly did. It took him a little bit. He was really bad in Portland in Double-A. Tibbs was. And then he goes to the Dodgers, part of the Dustin May trade. And that deal's going to look really, really, really bad for Boston eventually, I think, because Dustin May gave him a couple bad months. And now the Dodgers got Zach Earhart, who I really like. And they got James Tibbs. And Tibbs is hitting the cover off the ball. He has 7 home runs so far. He's slashing 380, 456, 920. Yes, he's in AAA. He's in the Pacific Coast League. The ball flies there. But the under the hood stuff looks pretty good with Tibbs as well. There seems to be a legitimate power jump. But to me, he's a sell. I think that there's just all sorts of buzz where the contact skills are just not good. And that really worries me. I think it's a 40 future hit tool. And even if he is now a potential plus future power grade, and I'm not sure that I'm there yet, I think he's really going to have to hit, and I'm not sure he's going to. So if I can cash on James Tibbs, I would have last week after the 3 home run game. But Rhys, what are you doing with James Tibbs, and is it legitimate?
I'm trying to sell where I can because people last year, Ryan Ward hit the cover off the ball and had no spot, and the Dodgers basically went out of their way to never use him. James Tibbs might fall into that sort of thing because what is the upside with him with the Dodgers, right? He might end up just being a platoon bat. I don't have the platoon splits pull up right now. There's no runway for him to be a full-time starter or anything like that. They've got that loaded outfield. They're probably going to end up trading him, but end up trading him right now. I think you can get a nice back or, get a reliever back of some sort. And that will be more impactful than James Tibbs. Not that he's not like I said, he's hitting the ball like crazy, but I think that now is like the ultimate sell high on James Tibbs.
Yeah. And I pulled up the splits. This year it's kind of, he's got some reverse splits. He's really good against lefties, but also really good against righties too. Small sample, not enough to really take away. Last year was pretty equal as well. He had a 798 OPS against righties and an 815 OPS against lefties, which is actually pretty interesting to look at. But to me, the glaring hole is just contact, and the contact rates are just not very good this year with Tibbs. On top of the fact, as you mentioned, like, where's he ever going to fit and play? And so those are the big concerns. Since that 3 home run game, he struck out in 50% of his plate appearances in the last 4 games. Small sample size again, but the contact rates, the end zone contact, concerns me a little bit with Tibbs. He's certainly a top 200 prospect, maybe a tad higher, but it's a sell because I think people are buying much higher. I saw some people throw out some pretty absurd things as far as how they valued him. So Tibbs was the talk of the town. Not sure as much this week, but this next guy I think is a little bit undervalued. Maybe not in our circles because our Discord has talked about him more this last week than I think any player has. And that's Josiah Hartshorn with the Chicago Cubs. 6th-round pick last summer, $2 million bonus. He's really looked the part so far in his debut. He's in single-A Myrtle Beach with the Cubs, and he's been really, really good. What are you taking away from what Hartshorn has done this far, and how high should he be pushed?
I think he should be pushed really aggressively. I mean, the Cubs have done a really good job with the guys that they give big time money to later on in the draft. Right? He's a 6th-round pick who got $2 million. So he got about like low end, like comp A sort of money. So they obviously really liked him. And he's someone who he has a ton of power. He's a good enough athlete too. I don't think that he's a stiff by any means. He may end up being a first baseman, sort of left field, right fielder, but he has enough power. And I think he could steal 15 bases. Like I really don't think he's going to be someone who's not going to contribute in that aspect. And, he's pulling the ball from what I gathered. I think the only people who are talking about Hartshorn more than our Discord is probably the Chicago Cubs themselves, because he is like, every time I log on to Discord, he is just like, he's the talk of what's going on there. And I can understand why. I mean, again, short sample size, we're going to keep mentioning that the entire episode. He's only struck out, I think, like once, it's 1 strikeout to 9 walks. Like, he's showing a good approach. And this is the baseline for a good approach, good power. This is the baseline for what we sort of want in a fantasy league, especially for those who play in OBP leagues. So I'm buying what Hartshorn's doing. I think that he should be pushed aggressively. Don't know if I'd put him in the top 100 just yet. I think that I would wait. I'd want to see like 2 to 3 more weeks. And if that makes me like the low guy and a little bit slow on him, I think I'm okay with that. I think that he's someone who's probably pushing that top 125, 150 range for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz for sure. The helium is there. I think that I like what the profile is showing so far. And I'm kind of curious. There was a mention, which I think was pretty good as well. There's a player in the Toronto Blue Jays org from last summer's draft, and that's Blaine Bullard. He's someone that if you miss on Hartshorn, I would say Blaine Bullard is a good target. He's, I think, a similar enough profile where you take that chance and there's some good power speed upside there as well if you don't get Josiah Hartshorn. So those are the batters that have been hot so far. We're going to talk about some pitchers now. There's been a bajillion. The reality is you could talk about a bajillion pitchers. Yeah, so all these guys I want to discuss are 2025 draftees. And so not all of them were like super hyped. And so I think only one of these guys was overly hyped in around draft time, but some hot pitchers so far. Are we buying? Are we selling? We've got to talk about Gage Wood, of course, for our guy 24 in the Discord.
And then we got to talk about Ellwanger, like, for sure. Like, he's someone that I think that, I mean, we can honestly, like, Tanner Franklin, like, it's just a buy. Like, it's just like, I was talking to someone and they were like, what if he's just better than Liam Doyle? And I was like, I don't know if I'm there yet, but like, it's not that out of the range of possibility.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what Tanner Franklin's done. He is in high A. So obviously that's good to see. I think most of these guys are down in single A. They need to all be bumped because they're college arms, but that would be interesting take. The biggest thing for me to watch with Tanner Franklin is how does he handle kind of this transition to a starter's role? He's always pitched in relief. He made a couple of starts in his college career, 4 career collegiate starts, just 1 last year at Tennessee, began his career at Kennesaw State, 2 years there before going to Tennessee. The command took a huge jump at Tennessee last year. It looks fine right now. He's walked 10.7% of batters. I can live with that. If you got the stuff he does, he struck out 57% of his batters in the 2 starts he has had. And the stuff's pretty electric. What have you seen in the stuff that kind of makes you buy Tanner Franklin, and how high are you willing to go on him?
For someone who's making that conversion from being a reliever to being a starter, he's holding his velocity deeper into starts. Like, and that's the thing that really like excites me. He's like, I believe in his start on April 3rd, he went into the 3rd inning still holding 98. And again, this is a guy we're still seeing. He's being slowly stretched out. He's topped 100. He's of all these guys that we're going to talk about, I have the least concerns about him. The only concern I have is how much will they, how will the lengthening out process? Like, will he be someone who, maybe by the end of the season he's throwing 5 innings? But it's electric stuff. And if he does ever have to be converted back to being a reliever, we know it plays. Like, it's nasty stuff. And he can be fast. I actually picked him up in some FYPDs, not knowing fully that they were going to stretch him out as a starter. But I picked him up on the off chance that he was just a reliever who flew through the minors, because he's got the sort of stuff that could get big league batters out right now.
Yeah, I mean, that fastball plays. It's got good IVB. He's got a pretty flat vertical approach angle on it. It's a 5.5 foot release height. So he's creating the ride you want to see. He's got the velocity. It does everything that you want to see. And the secondaries are good too. Like, I really like the slider that he throws. He mixes in a cutter, changeup. And the command's the biggest question, can he hold command in starts? I'm buying. Is he a top 100 prospect for you, or are you a little hesitant to go that quickly on him?
Think of these guys, he probably is the closest to being a top 100 prospect, because I'm just buying everything that he's doing. Like, I'm so impressed with what he's done, but he's probably just outside. He's probably like a top 115 prospect. And then, you know what, if he throws another start like he has his past 2, I might be like trying to put him in like the top 80. Like, I'm really in on what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm very much in that same camp on Tanner Franklin, looking the part. Is Gage Wood a reliever? Don't break 24's heart, but is he a reliever? He obviously has dominated single A so far, but come on, this guy pitched in the SEC. Like, let's give him a little more aggressive of an assignment than the Florida State League. 15 strikeouts in 7 1/3 innings, 2 walks, 1 earned run so far. But are you buying what Gage Wood's doing?
I'm buying what he's doing. I do think that it is very reliever-ish. Like, the shapes it's a lot of up and down. There's nothing that breaks towards the glove side or really the arm side. So he needs to work on that. There's not really a changeup that he's thrown at all. It has been fastball, slider, curveball. And it's been like 60% four seam, 30% slider, and then he throws in the curveball every once in a while. And I think the curveball is actually pretty good. So I would like to see him throw that more. It's just very reliever and look. He's had a lot of injury issues in his past. I'm absolutely shocked that they have him in single A, because the only reason I can see for having him there is that they don't want to send him up to high A where it might be a little bit cold. But at a certain point, the guys might be playing in Philadelphia. It's going to be cold to start the season. So you might as well get guys acclimated to that. So that excuse has never been one that I've truly understood. So yeah, I mean, he's making a mockery of single A, like 7 innings pitched over 2 starts, 15 strikeouts. I think he's a reliever in the long run, and I know that's going to really upset 24. I'm probably going to get added a lot, and whatever, it is what it is. Gage Wood elite, but it's like high leverage stuff. Like, even if he is a reliever, it's pretty bonkers stuff. The 4-seamer, it's got good movement. I mean, the shape is pretty good. Averaging about 15 inches of vertical ride. And he gets a lot of whiffs on it, but again, he's playing against single A hitters, and the slider's good. It kind of crosses over that velocity band that I really want sliders to start hitting. It's like an 87-mile-per-hour slider, and it's been causing so many issues for these poor single A hitters. He needs to be promoted to high A and maybe even double A in short order.
Yeah, the 4-seam's absurd. It's got a -4 VAA, which is elite. You mentioned the shape on it looks good. He's throwing it from a 5.3 release height, so the ride's good, the velocity's there, the slider. So the 4-seam has a 30% swinging strike rate right now, and the slider 28%. Those are stupid numbers. The CSW on both are over 50%. So get him out of single A immediately. He's way too good there. There are some risk. I do like Gage Wood. Now, Ben Jacobs, I wrote about this morning. He really caught my eye. He's an Arizona State product, Detroit Tigers system. Ben Jacobs has added velocity, and he's changed his shapes a little bit where it looks like he's going to play. This is a lefty that's 6'1", third-round pick last summer, and he's been dominant in both of his starts. Again, it's in single A. I don't love that. These guys are pitching at high levels in college. Like, single A competition might be honestly a step down from like the highest level of college ball. But Ben Jacobs last year was like 92. This year he's averaging 94 so far. Again, it's 2 3-inning starts. I don't want to flip out about it and be overly excited yet, but I am really interested to see. He's lowered the release height and kept the ride. So dropped the release height from 5'5" last year to 5'2" now. 17 inches of IVB from that slot will play. The VAA is -4.1, and that velocity jump has me kind of excited. He's got a pretty deep arsenal, slider, splitter that he likes to throw. He has a cutter as well. He hasn't thrown it a lot, but I don't know if you've called any of his starts or if you happen to see him when he was in college, but Ben Jacobs is kind of somebody that's really kind of popped to me where if it sticks going to higher levels, I'm really interested in this guy.
I'm interested. I caught him a little bit. I used to cover the Big 12, so that was kind of something that I would do. So he was someone that I really liked, and the fact that they've kept, they've dropped the slot, they've kept the vert. It's at the very least a reliever, like a really good reliever starter kit. Like, the slider's pretty good, fastball's good from the left side, changeup's also pretty good. He's got a deep arsenal that he can mix and match with. He's just someone. You send him out to IA. Like, these guys, like, we need to just. The Tigers even have, I think, Witherspoon, the Witherspoon twin, or not twin, brother. He's also performing well. So, this college crop that we talked about last year is really, really strong. And, those that went to smart organizations are taking that step forward. Tanner Franklin, Gage Wood hasn't really taken a step forward. He's just been healthy, which is a big step for him personally. And then Ben Jacobs, they kind of reworked his delivery and everything, and that's kind of allowed everything to play up. Buying in on Ben Jacobs in your deep leagues, because I do think there's a lot more reliever risk, especially with an organization like Detroit, who is a little bit quicker to move guys to the bullpen than I think that they're given credit for. But yeah, I'm in on Jacobs. I think I'm excited to see what the Tigers do with him. I think they need to incorporate that cutter a little bit more. But who am I to question what they're doing?
Yeah, it's working. I would like to see the cutter a bit more as well. A sleeper from last year's class, Dominick Reid, Cubs draftee. He's somebody that he began his career at Oklahoma State, didn't pitch a lot. He went to Abilene Christian University last year, and he really dominated. Career high 88 innings in college. You like to see that. He had 31% strikeout rate, 7.5% walk rate. You kind of ask about the competition a little bit. Will it play? And I think you should look at the stuff and say, I think it can. So I really like this fastball and changeup that he throws. The slider development will be interesting to see. The Cubs have had some success developing breaking balls with guys. So I'm curious if that's the case here. But again, Dominick Reid is in single A. He's dominated. He's not allowed to run in his 2 starts, 9 innings so far. And he's really looked the part. He has walked 1 batter. He struck out 10. I'm kind of buying into Dominick Reid in a deep league. The fastball is like 93, 94. It's not like a standout shape by any means, but he locates it well, gets a lot of strikes with it. That changeup, I'm a big fan of. It's low to mid 80s. It gets 15 to 17 inches of horizontal with some pretty good depth to it. The spin, like it's low spin, he kills it. It kind of dies in midair. I like what I've seen from Dominick Reid. He pitched last night against Kendry Churio. So if you want to go watch a good minor league duel, that would be a good one to go check out on MILB TV. But I'm kind of interested in Reid in a deeper sense. I'd like to, again, see him at a higher level, but any thoughts there on Reid?
Of the guys that we've talked about so far, the pitchers, he's the one that I understand why he's in single A. Yeah. Abilene Christian is not a power conference by any means. I'm sorry if there's any Abilene Christian fans or alum listening, but it's not a power conference, so I can understand why. And to your point, I was watching that game in the press box between him and Kendry Churio, so this is probably the best pitching matchup of the day. And also that Kansas City single A affiliate actually has some interesting guys on it. So I was like, I wanted to see how Reid would maneuver through it. And He was getting uncomfortable swings. Like you mentioned with the changeup, he does a really good job of killing lift on it. I'd imagine the IVB is very, very close to zero because it's not getting any sort of ride, and then it's just getting that horizontal arm side fade. It's your prototypical changeup, and honestly, the fastball changeup combo is good enough to like play in a bullpen of sorts. But I think that if that slider development sort of does take a step forward, maybe he's more of a curveball guy. The third pitch is going to be key for him, and I think that because he's going from Abilene Christian to the Cubs, I think that there is a little bit more runway for him to be a little bit more slow play compared to some of his other collegiate counterparts. But I'm in on the profile. It was really good. He's a good mover. He throws strikes. He's got good command. He's kind of hits all the benchmarks that you want. When that third pitch sort of takes that step forward, I think this guy could be like an absolute helium guy.
Yeah, so I'd watch list him. I'd add him in a deeper league and just say, like, it could go somewhere. It might not, but we'll see. So Dominick Reid of the Chicago Cubs. Last pitcher before we get to some live looks. Every time this guy pitches, it's messages in the Discord. When are you going to bump him higher? When are you going to bump him higher? That's James Ellwanger of the Minnesota Twins. He got some helium this spring. He was a third-round pick, $1 million bonus out of Dallas Baptist. There's some interesting things in the profile, and I'm not like totally against James Ellwanger, but I'm not totally convinced that the command is good enough either. He's got a good arsenal of pitches. He's gotten results so far in his 7 innings, not allowed a run, 33% strikeout, and a 7.5% walk rate. It's a big jump from last year when he walked 13.5% of batters. You look at the pitch data, like the fastball doesn't really stand out to me. There's velocity. Yes, he's averaged 95.5, touched 99. That's all great, but he's not missing single A bats with it. I mentioned that swinging strike rate on the fastball for Gage Wood. 30% in the same league. James Ellwanger, 8% swinging strike rate on the fastball. It's average extension. It's an above average release height. He's like 6 foot release height. So, somewhere around average, and the shape's pretty generic. It's not a flat vertical approach angle. Fastball doesn't stand out to me outside of velocity. This changeup that he throws, pretty respectable, I'd say. It's a low 90s changeup. And again, it's got pretty decent shape. I would say the changeup might be his best pitch here that we've seen so far, at least from a performance standpoint in the data, what I've seen. Curveball, two-plane movement, low 80s, and he's mixing in a cutter in that same velo band in like the low 90s that he has the changeup. So I think James Ellwanger is fine. I want to see the command a little more over like longer starts and throughout the season. I'm not fully buying yet. I'm not going to shove him up rankings. I know people want that. It's a starter mold. Like he's got a frame of a starter, but I think he's a good pitcher. Like he's like a SP5 type, I'd say. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm not willing to go like top 100 like people want, but what have you seen from Ellwanger, and am I too low on him?
No, I think that you and I are not to like badmouth the people on Discord or anything, but people are wanting him to be like this, like you said, top 100 prospect, and I just don't see it. I think that like an SP5 type is kind of the appropriate outcome. The thing with a changeup that kind of like it doesn't get a lot of velocity separation from the fastball. It is a very firm changeup, and it doesn't allow him to have those like velocity bands that he can play with. It's like it's either in the low 90s or mid 90s. And then he's got this curveball, which honestly, I would love to see the curveball thrown a touch more. I think that's probably his best like off-speed offering. But it's like, he does a good job shape-wise with the changeup, but it's 91. And it's like, I'd rather, getting 4 miles per hour average off your fastball and changeup is not something that I want to see. I know changeups are so hard to model, and it's a reason that stuff less model get them right, or the weirdest pitch and whatever. But it's like just looking at it from like a traditional like quote ice scouty thing. I don't want to change it this 4 miles per hour four-seamer. So I'm kind of lower on Ellwanger, and I know it's probably going to break some of the people in Discord's heart, but I just don't see the upside right now. He's fine. He's not outstanding. He's got that workhorse frame, like you mentioned, and that's kind of it. Like the shapes are fine. Nothing's like truly extraordinary for me with him.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. So I'll keep watching. I'll keep an eye on him. I'm not going to shove him yet, but kind of where I am. Let's talk some live looks. You've been out all week seeing some Cal League teams. I've seen a couple of the Red Sox guys, obviously, but there's some fun names we have to talk about. And I'll let you take the floor. I'll kind of cue you up on some guys that I'm interested in hearing more about. And you can have the floor and tell us what you've seen so far. Brendan Tunink has gotten off to a great start this year. Obviously, he was a guy that last year showed some things at the complex that were really fun. I thought he might go to single A last year. He did not. Was some concerning whiff, but the underlying power data was really good with Brendan Tunink, and he's gotten off to a great start. 3 home runs already in 6 games, and the slash line's pretty silly. No need to quote a 6-game slash line, but I like what I've seen. You've seen him in person. What have you seen from Brendan Tunink, and is it legit?
I haven't seen any of the home runs yet because they've all happened against the poor Padres affiliate, who, man, that affiliate is not one that I'm rushing out to go see, especially if Cruz Schoolcraft has taken a step back. I saw on video and I've heard from scouts this week, so that's not something I'm rushing out to go see. There's whiff, there's power. He's a good enough athlete. I think that he could steal quite a few bases if they gave him more of a runway to do it, but they clearly have not. And who am I to question what the Dodgers are doing? So he's an interesting profile, probably like a top 300-ish. Like if you want to bet on the upside, I like some of his teammates a little bit more, and we'll talk about them later.
Yeah, that's I'm interested to see what he continues to do, but there's a couple. This guy's probably the highest profile, I guess, well-known player on the team, and that's Emil Morales. I think he does a lot of things that I like. He does some things that concern me, but I'll let you speak to that. We talked about a little bit before the show, but what have you seen with Emil Morales? And is it a legit power bat that we're looking at here?
It's legitimate power. He hits the ball hard. He has a really good approach. Like he sees a bunch of pitches. His big issue is I'm still trying to figure out whether it's an issue of spin recognition, but he has struck out quite a few times on stuff, and he just can't get to it. It seems to be a really big problem for him. I've seen it open side. I've seen it behind the plate now a few times in the series. And it's not like he's whiffing at stuff that is crazy by any means. You and I talked before we started recording. The Mariners affiliate does not have a lot of good pitchers. If any good pitcher shows themselves, it'll be the first one that I've seen. So it's a really alarming to see Morales kind of have these issues, and it's something that he will have to fix. It was an issue for him last year. It's just a hole in the zone that he swings over top of all of them. It's changeups, it's curveballs, it's vertical sliders, but anything above that he seems to be doing fantastic with. He's making a bunch of contact, he's hitting the ball hard. He plays a good defensive shortstop. He plays a good defensive third base too, because I've been mixing around him and Joendry Vargas a little bit at those 2 spots. He's a really good prospect. He's probably a 50 FV OFP, depending on which scale you use, who can probably hit 25 home runs. There is some hit tool concern here that I don't think a lot of people have really touched on.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. That was my concern last year with him. He didn't make my top 100 in the season, and everybody was kind of losing their mind. But those whiffs on the breaking balls were certainly a little bit concerning, something that I had seen as well that left me kind of question a bit. But you've spoken highly of Joendry Vargas. What have you seen of him that kind of gets you excited? Because he was somebody that for a while had a lot of helium, and then last year he just seemed to really fall off, and he felt like he fell off my radar too, if we're honest. He was somebody that I really liked out of the DSL, had a great complex in 2024, and he seemingly just fell apart last year. But do you think he's turning it around with what you've seen?
I think he's turning it around. I think he's also, don't quote me on this, but I want to say it was a shoulder injury last year or something that kept him out, and it was nagging him for a while. So he is exactly how you would if you're playing MLB Road to the Show, you kind of build a Joendry Vargas starter kit, right? He's 6'3". There's room for him to fill out. There's still room for him to fill out. And then there's more room after that. He has the ability to, depending on how him and the Dodgers want to handle his career, he can maybe tack on some more muscle, which would unlock more power. And maybe he moves over to third base. He's a good athlete. He's a better athlete than Morales. He's probably a plus mover underway. It's kind of impressive to see. He is fluid. He makes good swing decisions. He is slowly but steadily moving up the lineup from what I've noticed. He has, struck out 31% of the time, but again, 6 games. We're not really drawing too much from that. He does seem like he's trying to press a little bit because he hasn't really gotten a lot to that's a quality to hit, so he's trying to force the issue. And you do have to learn how to deal with that at this level. Guys want to go up there and swing. No one really wants to go up there and walk. So it's something that he'll need to like dial it back a little bit. I'm buying it on the profile. He's someone I'm gonna like shoot up my rankings and stuff. He's kind of everything that I sort of want in a prospect. He's a good defender. He can hit the ball hard. He can steal some bases. I think he's a better athlete than he's given credit for. And he's kind of the buzz of the scout section. They keep talking about him. And these are scouts from a bunch of different organizations, all of them very smart, all of them are really good. So they're in on Vargas, and I'm going to follow suit.
Yeah, I like that. Now, one of my favorite sleepers in last year's draft class that really didn't stick as a sleeper long, his name kind of got some buzz all offseason, was a Dodgers third rounder from Cincinnati, Landyn Vidourek. That's spelled Vidourek. And you told me you got the pronunciation guide. It's Vidourek. So Landyn Vidourek, what have you seen out of him that's really stood out to you? The slash line doesn't look great so far. It's not a big sample. He struck out a lot, but I think there's some things to like in Vidourek's profile. But what have you seen in person that's caught your eye?
It's tools. It is tools and tools and then some more tools. Like, he is a good mover. He is probably a 60 to 70 runner. He probably has 60 grade power. I got a video of him hitting a home run on Twitter or X, and he's really, really like, that's kind of the basis of the fantasy appeal. Like, there's a bunch of these guys in this draft. There was him, Ryan Weidman, James Quinn Irons, really, really good athletes, and they have the tools. It's just, will they be able to make enough contact? And I don't have a full idea on Vidourek's like contact and what it's going to look like at the end of the day, but he's in a good organization to sort of maximize it. He does get a little swing happy. As much as I do that when you go to these minor league games, they tend to pick the beer batter on who has the highest strikeout rate, so that they can sell more beers and stuff. And Vidourek has been the beer batter a couple of times, which tells you that they know there's some swing and miss here. And he's going to whiff. He gets aggressive in the box. But when he does make contact, that thing it's pretty loud contact. He can hit the ball. He can like shape his home runs, I guess, however you want to put it. He can go pull side. He has opposite field power. He has straightaway power. He has sort of power that if he can get the contact, like if he can make the league average zone contact and keep the whiffs like to just like yellow flag instead of red flag. This guy could be a fantasy, like a really, really good outfielder 2 sort of profile with some power and some speed, but it's going to be completely dependent on, can he keep the whiff down and can he keep the aggressiveness of the plate down?
Yep. I'm interested to see how that pans, but I do think it's probably plus power, plus speed. So makes for an interesting player. Is there any other guys that have stood out? I know you'll see Cam Leiter tonight, so that'll be one we can discuss further. I'm very interested to see what Cam Leiter brings to the table. But is there anybody else so far that you've seen that you want to talk about?
Chase Harlan has been interesting. I don't like him at third base. He's like, it's weird. He's got like, he either can he can make the throws or he can't. Like, I know it's over simplistic, but he's got like a ton of power. Like, he smashed a batted ball. I put my phone down to stop recording for 1 second, and then this ball went out in a hurry. He was a guy who's committed to Clemson, 3rd rounder pick in 2024. They are like slow playing him just a little bit. He's got everything you want. He's got the size. You can see where there's more power to come. I think he might ultimately end up to first base or maybe move to like a corner outfield spot. But this is like some of the best power in this affiliate. It's probably a touch better than Vidourek, which is kind of it says a lot. But it just, will he make enough contact? It seems like the Dodgers are really taking these gambles on, can these guys, big tools, but can they make enough contact? And the Dodgers have shown an ability to round up a little bit on some of these guys' contact skills. So I'm gonna be interested to see what they do. I don't like the swing so much. It's kind of like there's a lot of moving parts in the swing, and the load is it feels like he's setting himself back a little bit. I don't know if that's going to make a lot of sense, but something that some scouts have been saying is that the load is a little bit wonky, and that's ultimately making everything play down to sort of the contact. But the power's there. It's probably some of the best power in the Dodgers system outside of Zaire Hope and Paula. Chase Harlan's one of the top 5 power hitter in their minor league system. And then Jaron Elkins is someone that they've been hitting leadoff, and he's been doing pretty well. He's, there's some big whiff, very similar to Vidourek, but like a right-handed version of it. And I'm just curious to see how they keep the whiff down and stuff with him. How do they get him to dial it back a little bit? I know he's only striking out 19% of the time, but there is some whiff, and I think that there's going to be some holes in his swing. I mean, you can't argue with 2 home runs and 7 stolen bases. He's one of the more dynamic athletes at this level. And he can play center field, and I think that the Dodgers got a really good one in the 8th round of the 2023 draft. He's definitely been someone that they've slow played a lot.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun names on that team. That may be one of the better teams right now in the minors, so really fun to get out and see them. I'll just quick hit a couple guys. Juan Valera, Anthony Eyanson. A lot of buzz. The Red Sox have a lot of buzzy arms and prospects in general, and then I'll get a hitter as well. We'll get out of here. But Valera, it's a lot of the same with Valera. I know he hit 102 last night. Everybody kind of lost their mind. But Valera's always ran it up. Like he consistently works at 99, and he'll clip triple digits regularly. It's a lot of east-west movement with Valera, with what you see. He'll throw a changeup that gets up to 95. And again, we talk about separation. He'll run it 91 to 94. He clipped that 95 last night on the changeup, but it actually has pretty good shape to it. Like it almost just is like a really good sinker. It's got depth. It's got a lot of arm side. So it's not your typical like sinker or changeup that's just like overly firm. That doesn't get the shape. So it's an interesting pitch. He'll manipulate the slider in a couple of ways where he will throw a longer sweeper in like the mid 80s. He'll get up to 90 with like a more traditional shaped slider. So Valera's a lot of fun. It could go either way, starter, reliever. The upside's clearly there, but we want to see it over longer stretches because he'll run hot stretches. He'll run cold stretches. Really dominant last night, though. So Juan Valera is certainly someone that everybody knows about, I think, at this point. But Anthony Eyanson came on really hot this spring. I got word that his velo had jumped in January. So I tried to put it in the Discord. I'm not sure it really like took traction until people started seeing it, some of the backfield stuff. But he's a 3rd rounder out of LSU. Fastball shape and velo was the issue at LSU, even though he was good. I mean, he was 92, 93 at LSU, and the shape was pretty generic. Now he's like 95 to 97. So like he worked in that first start around that range the whole start, 3 innings, but he clipped 100 in spring breakout. Everybody was like losing their mind. He's not going to pitch at that velocity in long starts. You got to remember, spring breakout presents a different beast. So all these guys are just going to go out and showcase what they got in spring breakout because it's an inning, and why not? So, you know, Eyanson's fun. I really like the slider shape. It's a lot of vertical movement. He really gets some good depth to it. Misses a lot of bats. He'll throw a slider in like the 87, 88 range. He'll throw a curveball in the lower 80s. That's almost like a 12-6 type shape. So he does get a lot of north-south movement there. And his changeup as well, I think, has come a long way. That's something I've really enjoyed seeing. Changeup looked good in the start. I saw him last weekend where it was 87, 88. It's got good depth to it. A lot of like good horizontal as well, which again you needed because both the slider and the curveball are more vertical than horizontal. So he does have that east-west pitch in the changeup. And Justin Gonzalez, I'll just say, like, I was a little hesitant. Obviously, this guy is a monster. He's like 6'6". He puts up absurd exit velocities. I was a tad hesitant just to go all in on him because while there's a lot of game power, there's still a lot of raw power. The game power hasn't really actualized. He hit the cover off the ball last year, and in 410 plate appearances, just hit 4 home runs because he pounds everything into the ground. And I'll admit, like, I was hesitant about that. And so far this year, he's already blasted 2 home runs. One of them was like a 111 off the bat. Still 53% ground ball rate in a small sample. So something that we'll need to see kind of tweaked. Swing path, just it's going to have to be adjusted. But also, then what does that affect? So Gonzalez does make good contact, I will say. I mean, I've been encouraged by what I've seen from a contact perspective. But my goodness, this guy is coming up and he's swinging at every pitch. I just pulled the number and he's got a 66% overall swing rate right now. So literally 2/3 of the pitches he sees, he's swinging at, which is a lot. Like an average swing rate's probably like 43, 44%. So like that swing rate's absurd, but he's making contact. It's working, but I'll be curious if he gets exposed. I'm still hesitant to go all in on Justin Gonzalez. Power is legit. He does make a lot of contact, but man, is that approach good enough? we shall see. But those are some of the guys we've seen. We've flown through an hour. Rhys, you got anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
No, honestly, I was super excited to see what you thought on Justin Gonzalez. He's someone that I've been kind of like, trying to pick up in all the leagues that I'm in. So yeah, I don't really got much more to add. I covered everything that I've seen this entire 5 days now, with the affiliates that I've seen. So I think this is a good point to land the plane, so to say.
Let's do it. So we'll be back again next week. Got some good action. I'll have Bowling Green coming into town, which is the Rays high A. So they've always got some fun guys. That the Rays system's always loaded. We may see what else is going on next week if I can get out to any other games, but Greenville will have Bowling Green in town. So certainly some more looks there, but yeah, I think it's going to do it. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We hope you have a good week, and make sure you check out the Fab report that's coming out and grab those guys that are really popping off before your league mates do. But we thank you for all the support, and we'll talk again soon.